What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Nikolai Espresso, and welcome back to another video here today on the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about Call of Duty 2017 and some things that I think the game needs to thrive, and potentially you guys might as well think so. Some of these may be the larger things you might think of immediately. Some of them might come down to personal preference that I think the game should have, but regardless, it is going to be something that I want to talk about with you guys today. And if at any point in time you agree with some of these things or have some things you want to throw out there that you think Call of Duty 2017 will need to be able to be successful, to thrive within the COD community, feel free to drop it down there in the comment section down below. But let's talk a little bit about Call of Duty 2017. Right now, it is still a little bit too early to say that we know anything about the game. That stuff usually comes out in late April, early May, in that time frame. Sure, we'll get some leaks here and there that might be credible, that might not be, or some things that just kind of point to different things in general directions for the next title around like the March time frame. So it's becoming something a little bit more relevant, and I know a lot of you guys definitely wanted to see more COD 2017 stuff. You guys expressed a decent amount of interest on the videos we've done previously. So that said, let's talk about my 7 things here. The first one, and the biggest one, being the fact that I believe we need to go back to boots on the ground. I personally am not super opposed to the Call of Duties that have jetpacks, thrusters, all that good stuff. I'm kind of just go with the flow, laissez-faire if you want to call it that, and I'll really just play whatever, but it is something that it does get, after a while, quite stale, something that is kind of gimmicky if you want to put it that, and I totally understand where a large portion of the community, especially those that have left Call of Duty for different games, did so because they just didn't like the movement system with it. It wasn't a realistic Call of Duty. You couldn't really connect to it like you could with, say, Modern Warfare, something that was set around today's modern age and different time frames. Very shortly thereafter, some things like Black Ops, where it of course connects with some historical ties, but of course is still a fictional storyline. Things like that, it's just very much more connected with the player if it's more boots on the ground, more relatable. You're not flying around, and of course, with the uproar that's happened the past couple of years, it's clear that the community wants to go back to boots on the ground, and they're not necessarily too much so looking forward to another title with thrusters, wall running, things like that. It just doesn't seem natural to the community. So that's something that I think is the biggest make or break thing for Call of Duty 2017. The next big thing is, of course, kind of tying into that, the modern or past era. I think that is also a must with this as well, where we go back to either a modern setting, somewhat maybe thereafter modern, so maybe like a Black Ops 2 type of setting where it's a couple of years in the future, but not too far distant. But I think that definitely a modern or a past era game will make the game thrive within the community once again, because Call of Duty is definitely something that it grew off of the realism. It grew off of the dark, gritty battles in war that a lot of people really wanted to see. They wanted to see that side of history, that side of realism, the connectivity between the players and the narrative that is being told. And of course, I know I say realism, and I know somebody's gonna be like, oh, well, Battlefield's got that realism. They have bullet drop. It's a lot more realistic than Call of Duty. I don't mean realism in the fact that it's accurate in terms of the physics of war, how the bullet drops, things like that. I'm more so just talking about, in a general perspective, you're not going to be more connected to a game where you're flying around as a super soldier in space 500 years in the future or something similar with lasers and all that, as you would be connected to somebody that is fighting a war that is really relevant to, say, right now's day and age, something that you can connect to in the newsline, the headlines, things that might even affect people on a daily basis. You're going to connect more with that if it's a modern or a past setting than that of something that is 100% fictitious and something that is in a frontier that won't be reached for another couple hundred years. Number 3 on the list kind of deals with something that'll come later on in the year, and I almost guarantee it will happen this year because we've had 2 years of this now in a row with success in terms of boosting pre-orders, different sales for the titles and all that, but this deals directly with a beta. I want this to be something that really takes the place of what Black Ops 3 did with its beta, maybe even a little bit earlier, because if you want to take a look at Infinite Warfare's beta, it wasn't really a beta, it was more so just a demo. It was something that launched 2 weeks before the game actually went live. So if something is released that close to the actual full-on launch date, there's no way that any major bugs or glitches or anything that needs to be toned down in terms of weapon balancing will happen in those 2 weeks. You can have an absolutely fantastic development studio, and even meeting some of the talent at Infinity Ward, I know for a fact those guys actually are great people, but it just does not have the time frame to completely rework a build of a game within that small window of time. So the beta has to be something that takes place a little bit earlier in the year, something maybe in August like we saw with Black Ops 3, something that does give more time for players to give their feedback to the studio, to Sledgehammer in this case, and allow them to make some tweaks and balances, because once a game is made gold, it is something that is ready for pressing for mass distribution. Infinite Warfare was made gold standard before the beta actually went live, so it's something that at that point, you know there's not going to be too much changes even being discussed within the studio until after the launch at that point. So the beta needs to be something that is good, it needs to be multiplayer, that captivates people, brings them into the world of the game, and of course has enough time to give that feedback to Sledgehammer to make the adequate changes needed going into the actual full launch of the game. The next big thing that I think deals with this, number 4 on the list, comes down to weaponry. It's something that is always the big question with multiplayer in titles of Call of Duty. What are the weapons like? And I don't mean weaponry in the cliche version as of it needs to be balanced. All weapons need to be something that give a competitive advantage but also don't seem overpowered. I don't mean it in that way. What I'm more so talking about is the quantity of weapons. I'm talking more so the ability to choose from your armory that kind of gives a versatility to whatever playstyle you want to play, but also has enough that it gives you that chance to play these without getting bored of using the same weapons over and over and over again. Of course, with the last 2 years having Black Sky and then Dark Matter in Black Ops 3, I'd put money on saying that it's a good bet we'll see another camo just like that, in which it will incentivize players to use every single weapon in the game available to them. So yes, you can kind of put that on that sense where you won't be bored because you'll be going for that camo, but overall, I think there needs to be a good variation between a good amount, like a large amount of weaponry, but also not enough. But I also, one thing, don't really want variance. That's something that it does offer a lot of differences in terms of what weapons you can use while still sticking to the base weapon, so it offers more choices in weaponry, but I also feel like it dilutes the pool with perhaps too many, and many may also consider it pay to win since a lot of those variants are locked behind supply drops. It takes forever to unlock with salvage, some of them are exclusives, things like that, and I think that variants just aren't the best way to go with that system. So I think that it comes down to finding the balance between a lot of weaponry that keeps it interesting and either too little or too many weapons that kind of makes it a little bit, all right, this is too much, or wow, this isn't enough at all. Number 5 on the list comes down to, I think, something that many people will agree with in the multiplayer realm: good, unique, or lovable kill streaks. A little bit of all three is something that, of course, is greatly needed. A lot of people don't really think the score streaks in Infinite Warfare are that hot. They think that Modern Warfare Remastered is pretty good because, well, that's a classic system, 357, but even back a couple of years, many people just were not happy with the score streaks in different Call of Duty titles. Things that were really iconic, like the Chopper Gunner, the Pavlo, the Harriers, all that good stuff. We didn't really see them too much here outside of those specific games that did really well, say Modern Warfare 2, and there has been a lot more of a stress on gunfights, I believe, in terms of the development processes, so the kill streaks have kind of been secondary, something that you don't have to worry about too much, although whenever they're still there, of course, you do have that, but there's a lot of perks that counter these things and such, so I feel like score streaks have kind of diminished in value, and I'd like to see those come back up, make it worth playing the objective, make it worth going for kills, all that good stuff here with it, that it entails getting these streaks, because all in all, that just makes for good competitive fun, and of course, a lot better gameplay experiences to be had within the game if you have something you can go for every single life that you know can do some damage. Number 6 and 7 really come down to a personal level now here with this, kind of just finding something within my own personal preferences and really wanting to see them in the next title. The biggest one though here out of these two though, I think that I really want to see, especially as a creator, is theater mode returning. It's something that there's been lots of rumors as to why it hasn't been in recent titles, say other than Black Ops 3, but it's something that I believe is now at the point where it should be something that is standard within Call of Duty, not just in certain titles. And yes, I suppose you could make the argument that consoles now have built-in capture devices that you don't have to really worry about going back and saving every game, but not many people really tab out of a game to be like, hey, record this Xbox or PlayStation 4, and therefore I think that just saving games in the background is something that may take a little bit on the server side end, but really isn't anything that is too major that takes away from the gameplay experience, and is something that is very nice here with this. I know for a fact I'd much rather love to just be able to play the game rather than pop on my Elgato, and even though the Elgato is absolutely fantastic with flashback recording where I can literally just let it sit open and then click and drag whatever I want to actually capture, feature that does eat up memory on my PC side while just sitting idle there. So I'd love to be able to just turn on my Elgato, capture a specific moment in which that I wanted to actually do this for specific gameplay, and then call it quits here on it and not really have to have that open. And some people have it a little bit worse where they gotta record everything, but theater mode I think is, even just on the creative aspect side, just so great. Thumbnails, things like that for a YouTube creator can easily be made in that a lot of different montages are made within theater mode. There's different skits and funny moments made in theater mode, and it's just something that I think is a very nice asset to Call of Duty on the creative level, not just something that is used as simply as just saving a gameplay. I think there's just so much more that makes it a lot more enjoyable than what it might be on the surface. So I'm hoping that returns. The next and final thing that we have here is what I believe should be a good competitive mode, a league play if you will, something that Advanced Warfare and Sledgehammer really wanted to please the competitive fan base. Enter the skill-based matchmaking, which I'm hoping does not return in public matches, but that is just a prime example that they wanted to push a competitive aspect, something that really made everybody strive to be better players. And I think that if you segment this into a league play, that's something that really mimics Black Ops 2's, because to this day I still think that was the perfect mode for competitive. I had so much fun, I had a blast, and honestly a lot of the times I finished Black Ops 2, the multiplayer, very early on, I believe, a couple of months into the life cycle of that, and then the rest of the year I literally just played league play because it was just so fun and I could not get enough. That competitive spirit really just embodied everything that league play was, and I really enjoyed that. So to be able to bring that back, to kind of keep public and casual matches away from the competitive mode so you don't introduce skill-based matchmaking or anything like that into it, if you segment those two off, you can please two very great fan bases, the casuals and then of course the people that really want to compete. And I think that segmenting them doesn't break up the player count, but instead incentivizes them to play even more. But all in all, I guess that is something that we can all just hope for. These wishes that I have, these 7 things that I think Call of Duty really needs to have in 2017 to thrive. Of course, I didn't touch on supply drops because I don't think they're going anywhere, sadly. I know that might be something you guys were really waiting to hear on. I'd love to see a revised system. If you want to throw this in as a little asterisk number 8 or something like that, an honorable mention. I'd love to see a revised system, something that is more so cosmetic like Modern Warfare Remastered's version of supply drops, where everything is actually really attainable, even the weapons in terms of earning them, but also you have just a lot of cosmetics that can still push supply drops. I think that would be a nice way to do it, but all in all, I don't think those are going anywhere. But that is my 7 things that I think COD 2017 really needs to thrive. And of course, as I said at the very beginning, if you guys have anything you want to add in to this list, feel free to drop it down there in the comment section down below. If you guys don't agree with anything I said here, that of course is always welcome to be expressed down there in the comments as well too. But that is where we're gonna wrap it up. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you made it this far. We kind of went a little bit in depth with this, kind of made it a little bit longer, so hopefully you guys are cool with that. Hopefully you guys are all right. If you guys made it this far, drop a like down below if you guys did enjoy. If you guys are new to the channel, maybe consider subscribing to stay up to date with everything Call of Duty 2017, Modern Warfare Remastered, Infinite Warfare, Black Ops 3, all that good stuff relating to COD. We got you covered here up on the channel, and like I said, we're getting closer to that time where 2017 leaks and rumors are a lot more relevant, so if you guys are interested in that, feel free to hit that subscribe button to stick around. If you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, that is the best place to get connected with me here outside of YouTube. Practically live on Twitter, so if you guys are interested in striking up a conversation, asking me a question, whatever it may be, link is down there in the description below. And finally, if you guys want to click either of the 2 links on screen right now, they'll take you to more Call of Duty stuff that we put up here on the channel. So thank you guys so much for watching. My name's been Nikolai Espresso. I'll see you guys later. I hope you guys are having a great day. Take care and peace.